What's up? I'm back and we're here for another video, obviously, which is why you clicked the video. Anyway, but this video is in specific about housing. I'm going to be specifically talking about Tallahassee off-campus housing for students who are going to be going to TCC, FAMU, or FSU. So, wow, they're loud. Anyway, but yeah, excuse my roommates if you guys can hear them. But anyway, so to begin, one of you guys actually made a comment and I decided not to reply to you guys in the comments because I thought, like, you know, it's an important question and I know a lot of people probably, you know, wonder about it, and there's a lot of things that you do need to know and a lot of ways to go about it. So I said I'm going to dedicate a video and I'm actually going to shout her out. Her name is Stacy. So hey Stacy, and she's from New York. So she said she's looking into off-campus housing because it's inexpensive and the apartments are pretty nice. So we're gonna talk about that. So yes, the housing is very inexpensive compared to like a normal apartment. You know, depending on where you live, rent for an apartment can be anywhere from like $800 to however many thousands of dollars, you know. So here they really do cater to the student population, being that there are 3 colleges around. So housing here can be anywhere from like in the 300s to like the thousands, you know, depending on what you're trying to do. If you're balling, then, you know, you can go ahead and spend your thousands, and if not, you know, you can go ahead and find more affordable housing. But ultimately, a lot of the times having off-campus housing does turn out to be cheaper than it would be to live on campus. Personally, my mom, she wanted me to live on campus for like at least my first 2 years of college, because if you think about it, it does make sense, especially if you're going far away from home. You're gonna get to like learn the area, and when you're on campus you're a bit more involved versus, you know, having an apartment and commuting back and forth to school. So definitely take that into consideration. If you're going to be like a first year freshman, you know, it might be in your best interest to stay on campus. And one thing I like about FSU is that freshmen are allowed to bring their cars the first year. If you go to FAMU, I know freshmen, or at least as of right now, I think freshmen aren't allowed to bring their car to school the first year. So I don't know, you know, you got to take things like that into consideration. So, but living on campus, I definitely have to say you get more involved, you know, you make more friends, and, you know, you learn the area better. So I stayed on campus for 1 semester, and that was my summer semester. And somebody, I'm sorry, I'm trying to kind of knock out some questions since I'm talking about this in the video. Morgan Taylor, she actually commented on one of my videos again. She asked if I had to pick a roommate in the summer. And to answer that question, no, I didn't get to pick a roommate over the summer just because I was in care. So they kind of mandate everything. They choose roommates. I don't really know how they go about it. So I didn't get to choose roommates. And maybe, I don't know if they were allowed to, but I got accepted like less than a month before it was time to move in. So they gave me a roommate and I just went. And it worked out. I'm sorry guys, I'm kind of coming down with something, so excuse my voice. But anyway, so yeah, I stayed on campus for 1 semester and it was cool. You know, I didn't have my car at the time, so, you know, I ate on campus. If I had to go somewhere, you know, I Ubered or I found a ride or whatever. And then eventually I moved off campus. So number 1, the selection off campus, it varies. You have a plethora of housing options that you can look into. It depends. So first, to begin, I think of it like this: how many people are you comfortable living with? Do you want to share a bathroom or do you want your own bathroom? For me, I was only open to living with one other person, and I knew I wanted my own bathroom. Luckily for me, I actually found a roommate over the summer. I met her in the summer and I asked her if she wanted to be roommates, and she said yes. So we went apartment searching, and of course, you know, everybody starts online. So, you know, you can definitely check out listings online, but I highly recommend going to see things in person, because they can show you a picture online and then when you get there, it can be a whole completely different other thing. Those pictures, a lot of those pictures that you guys see online are outdated sometimes, so you never know. Also, with that being said, even if you do tour the place, I like to go on Twitter. I take it to the Twitter streets, and I like to, you know, type in the name of the complex or whatever and see what people are saying, what real people are saying. Because on Twitter, it's not like they're writing a review, they're just really like venting. So if something went wrong, you can see what people had to say about it. If something went right, you can see what people had to say about it. Moving on, so once you decide how many people you want to live with, I'm going to let you know from now. For example, when I had only one roommate, my rent was a bit pricier because you're only splitting rent between 2 people essentially. Because you can have up to 3 roommates where it's 4 of you guys. You're in a 4 apartment, a 4-bedroom, 4-bathroom apartment. So those can typically be a lot cheaper. Now, if you care about the living arrangement more so than cost, then, you know, you decide that way. So my first rent that I paid was, well, not my first rent that I paid, but for the complex I lived in prior to this, I was paying $560 a month with separate utilities of electric. So that meant that everything in my apartment was included. My water was included, my cable was included, it was furnished, and I paid $560, and then through the city I would get an electricity bill. Now, you guys, be very careful, and me personally, I would just like to say, try and find a place where the utilities is included, because when your utilities aren't included and you're doing it through the city, you kind of have to be more of an adult about it. And I say that because my first utility bill that I got back was $200. That meant I had to pay $100 and my roommate had to pay $100. So that meant for that month we spent $660 on living in that apartment. And in my opinion, that's kind of pricey. For some people that's not bad at all, but I'm just saying, I don't know if there was something wrong with the water there. I wasn't there long enough to find out. I ended up moving. But our electricity bills would typically come anywhere from $160 to $200 on top of the rent we were paying. So yeah, you have to keep things like that in mind. Like, now that you have your own place, if you move into an apartment, you're gonna have to be more conscious of things. You're gonna have to turn off lights, conserve water, like take shorter showers, do laundry maybe once a week, things like that. You know, you're not at your parents' house anymore, so you're definitely gonna have to be more adult-like about things. So moving on with that, the roommates. Now, a lot of the times, depending on the apartment complex, they do roommate matching services where they'll give you like a questionnaire, like, are you okay with pets? Are you okay with smoking? Things like that. And try to be as honest as you can in that questionnaire if you don't come with your own roommate, because they're going to match you with somebody based on that. So if you say, yeah, you're okay with pets, and they match you with somebody who has a dog, then you're going to have to live with a dog, or, you know. So be very honest on your roommate selection thing. And a lot of the times, if you come with a roommate, like for example, if you have a friend, which I don't recommend, and some of you probably have already heard this before, never live with your friends, because it's one thing to know somebody and then it's another thing to live with them. And then if you live with them and they do something you don't like, then, you know, that could start whatever, and then that could mess up your friendship just because you guys live together. So just be very mindful if you're gonna, you know, decide to live with a friend. You know, just, you know, make sure that's what you want to do. But they always say don't live with your friends and don't live with your boyfriend or your girlfriend. And the reason for that is, like, what if you guys break up? A lease is a real thing. Like, a lease is a real thing here. Once you sign your lease for an apartment, that lease is a contract. You cannot break it. If you break it, I don't really know what happens, but I think, like, I heard it messes up your credit. I heard, like, you might not be eligible to apply at other apartments in the future. There's just a lot of consequences that come with breaking your lease. So then guess what? If you and your boyfriend or girlfriend break up and you guys can't break the lease, what, you guys gonna stay together for 6 months or the 12 months that you guys have to live there? And then what happens when they bring around their new boo or their new bae? Like, I don't know. So those are just things that you have to keep in mind. Like I said, just keep telling yourself, like, you're an adult now. You have to make these adult-like decisions. So yeah, that's as far as it goes with roommates. Then you have to make the decision of, the decision of deciding if you want a furnished or unfurnished apartment. Most people go with the option of having a furnished apartment. Like this apartment came with a bed and a mattress, came with like a side table, a dresser, a desk, a chair, things like that. So it's not like I had to go out and go buy a bed frame and go buy all of that. That's already included in my rent. And that way I don't have to like try and pick up a bed and move it out with me. You know, the next apartment I move to, if I move, will be a furnished apartment as well. But some people, they do like the idea of investing in furniture, and that way you know, they could find a cheaper apartment, because unfurnished apartments are significantly cheaper. So, you know, that's another thing to keep in mind too. Are you gonna buy furniture, or are you gonna rent the furniture with your apartment? Anyway, yeah, so you know, that's another thing to keep in mind. And finally, you know, you sign your lease. Now, I made a list of things that I want to talk about, and I actually have an apartment horror story for you guys. Like, I have an apartment horror story, I have a roommate horror story. I don't know if I'm going to tell the roommate horror story, but you know, if you guys want to hear them, comment down below. You know, I try and cater to you guys. So yeah, so one thing I was gonna say is that Stacy, she asked about parking. And with parking it, this is how it goes. If you do come with your car, or if you do have a car, if you live on campus, for FSU, parking is free for students. At other colleges, I don't know, it depends, I don't know. But it's free. You just register your car. Now, when you move into an apartment, you give them your license, registration, insurance, all that good stuff, and then they give you a parking decal. And as long as you have that decal on your car, you can park anywhere within your complex. Now, if you have guests, they usually have a designated guest spot that the guests can park in. And if it's after 12 and you guys have guests over at your apartment and their car is not in a guest spot, their car will get towed. Like, I used to watch people's car get towed out my windows at my old complex. If you guys follow me on Snapchat, you've probably seen I put it on Snapchat. But yeah, so definitely be mindful of things like that. You know, you just really have to be more responsible now. You have to look out for yourself and your guests. So yeah, so yeah, back to parking. So yeah, that's how parking works. Also, just because, I'm just gonna say this, just because you have a car does not mean that you should drive it every day. Does not mean that you should even drive to school every day. Find a bus. Learn how to take the bus. Learn the bus routes, because guess what? If you are a student in Tallahassee, the bus is free. Free 99. That means you do not have to waste your gas. Instead of wasting your gas to go to school, you could park your car up and waste your gas to go out to the club. Go out somewhere else that you want to, you know? So yeah, definitely take the bus. You know, I know we bougie, but guess what? I like to save money. So, you know, definitely learn how to take the bus. Learn public transportation and things like that. Okay, and then we're going to talk about leasing and the guarantor forms. So a lot of these apartment complexes, they have model apartments, and you can go on the tours and see how the apartment looks like. You can see the layout of the apartment, how the bedrooms look, everything like that. Keep in mind, just because the model is nice does not mean what you move into will be nice. The model gonna be decorated, the model is gonna be prim and proper, the model's gonna be clean because no one lives in there. But when you move into your apartment, it might not be like that. And I'm just saying that because I don't want you guys to be shocked, because I know I've walked into some apartments and I've looked at it and I was like shook. My first apartment, it wasn't that bad, but my second apartment, I walked in and it knocked my socks off. And you guys, I'm not gonna say where I live now, of course, but yeah, I'm just saying be careful, because what you see is not always what you get. So anyway, once you do the tour, you then decide if you want to lease. Be careful. And I always tell people, I don't always tell people, who do I tell? But I always try and, well, I've been told not to like sign anything. And especially, I'm thirsty, especially if you go by yourself. Like, if you don't go with an adult, if you don't go with a parent, if you don't go with a whatever, a lot of the time these apartment complexes, like, they know that we're students and like they'll take advantage. Do not sign nothing. Like, if you're about to sign something, make sure you read it, because I have heard of somebody who has signed a lease at an apartment complex not knowing, and they were living on campus, and they basically ended up having to pay rent somewhere else and pay to live on campus. So you don't want to end up like that. So yeah, so definitely look into that. So now when you do decide to sign your lease, this is what they're going to ask for. This is when you got to get your money up. This is when it's real. So they're going to either ask for I think 3 months worth of rent depending on the complex, or they can run your credit, or I think they can get you a guarantor. So because I guess they know, like, you know, a lot of us are young, we don't got no credit. Yeah, I think they know that. So you have the option to get a guarantor, and your guarantor could be like your parent, or maybe if you have an older sibling or an adult that you trust or that trusts you, they can be your guarantor. And they just have to have like a certain credit score and be able to vouch for you, and you guys have to get like a notarized letter, so that way any damages to the apartment, like, they can hold somebody accountable. And that's what that 3 months worth of rent is for as well, so that way they have some funds in case there's any damage to their property, that they can replace it. Yeah, so that's how it works. So don't be going into the apartments breaking people's stuff. That's number one. And number two, start thinking about who you want your guarantor to be, or get your money up so you have your 3 months worth of rent. Okay, so next on my list is the fees and the utilities. So beware. You know, people will try and get one over you, as I said, because you're a student. So definitely be careful. Just because they might tell you rent is another price, sometimes you might go and sign your lease and your rent ends up being probably $100 more because there's other hidden fees in there. Like, they may say the base rent is $560, but they charge a $25 utility cap, like, which is like $25 a month for water. They charge $25 a month for internet and cable. And they charge another $25 a month for homeowners, not homeowners association, I'm ODing it, but you know, they charge whatever for whatever. So that's another thing. So don't be shocked if, you know, you get to the table to sign stuff and you're seeing that the price has risen. So if you know, when you're touring and when you're talking to a person, just be like, okay, can you give me like a total rate with all the fees of the amenities that are included? Can you give me that total price? So, you know, that way you know exactly how much you're gonna have to pay. And then cable and internet. Most places have cable and internet included, especially if it's like a student apartment complex. All you have to do is just, they give you your lease on a paper, you go to Comcast gives you a box for your TV, and then you buy your own router. That's another thing. These places are gonna say that internet's included, and I just want to say, because sometimes kids will move in and their parents move them in, and especially if you don't have a car, that you need a router. So this is just a router that I have. The complex is gonna offer you internet, but you're gonna need your own device, so that way you have your own Wi-Fi depending on the complex. So you might have to buy one of these. So when you go on your tour for whatever apartment, just ask like, oh, am I gonna need a router for the internet? They're gonna be like, yeah, you don't need a router. Nah, you don't need a router. So that's all I have to say. And that's pretty much it. If you guys have any questions, of course, leave them in the comments below. I noticed this about you guys. You guys like to slide in my DMs, and I mean, I don't mind, but in order for me to get to you quicklier and efficientlier, in order for me to get to you more quickly and efficient, I would rather for you guys to comment your questions or email them to the Ask J Doll email, because I do check that email. Sometimes you guys email it, sometimes you don't. But you guys do slide in my DMs, which is hard for me because I really don't go on my social media accounts that much because I'm busy with school. But YouTube is connected to my phone, so I get your notifications almost instantaneously. Like, I'll sit in class and I'll see your comments. So, you know, matter of fact, comments is the best way. Unless it's something personal, just email me. Yeah. So yeah, that's all I have to say, guys. Bye. I'll see you in the next video, and thank you so much for watching.